Welcome and thanks for joining us. You're listening to the Women's Broadcast Television Network, and I'm your host, Shay Vaughn. Today, joining us on the WBTVN network is two gals that are outstanding. They actually have put together and are the CEOs and COO of the company, which is called Tierra International. And Tierra International is a global company providing powerful and results-driven leadership development for all aspects of women's lives. So let me introduce the two gals that you're looking at right now. Anyway, Betsy Sobiech, am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Is an expert in organization development, human behavior, training, system thinking, communications, and coaching. And also with us is Dr. Allison Miller, creates collaborative coaching relationships with her clients and helps them to identify important life goals. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're so glad to have you here. Tell me a little bit first, Betsy, how did Tierra come about? I mean, how did you come up with this name?
It's a good question. You know, it took us about a year to fully develop our model of leadership, which was designed by women for women, which is a perfect fit for this network. Yeah. And as we were doing it, we wanted to find a name that was really a metaphor or a symbol, not just something that was just women's leadership development, because there was something that we felt was really special about the inside-out model that we were developing. So Tierra and the crown that you find in our logo is really meant to symbolize that power that you're born into. No, power that is yours just because of who you are and what you stand for, and that you can really grow into with each phase of your life.
You know, I love what you're saying about power, because so many women don't realize how powerful they are. And I think that sometimes they just need some coaching and understanding that, you know, they're amazing people and that they do have that power. And you guys are the right people to put them on the right track. And we're going to talk a little bit more, you know, about that. Also, let's come down to Allison. Allison, so creating all of this collaboration, I definitely believe in collaboration, and it's probably one of the things that WBTVN is not just talking about, but doing. And that is, you know, working with other women's organizations and promoting them. And just like you guys, you know, promoting you and having you on the show. And we'll talk about some of the things that we think that we can all do together that's going to enrich the lives of all of us, especially those people that you connect with. And so with that, tell me how you got started on this journey and what your passion is about what you do.
Well, I started out actually by thinking I was going to go in a traditional career of being a clinical psychologist. That's my background. I went to the University of Illinois and got a PhD there, and then had the good fortune while I was in graduate school of doing some personal growth work, which I really needed because I was struggling with my own procrastination and actually not understanding my own power and my own ability to be of influence and to do what mattered. And I had this idea when I found out I was pregnant with my first child, which was 17 years ago, that I could be influential, that I could make a difference for people by creating relationships where you sort of bring what's on the inside of people to the outside. And that I think oftentimes there's a real deep wisdom and intuition that women have about how to lead their lives powerfully, but they actually just don't know how to tap into it. It's like a river that's running through their life the whole time. They just don't know how to dip their feet down into it. And coaching conversations aren't about us being an expert and telling people what to do with their lives. It's really about bringing what people already know and helping them develop that connection to their own intuition, their values, their inspiration, and their inner wisdom so that they can choose how to direct their lives. And in that way, it really is a beautiful collaboration between two human beings that makes something possible that might not be possible otherwise.
Right. And you know what I love that you're saying, and I'm going to put it maybe in a little bit different terms, but it's really helping people to solve their own, issues. It's coaching them to get to where they need to be. It's not about saying, this is what you need to do, this is how you do it or whatever, because everybody's different. They have their own journey. They have their own time frame. They have, all these, they're different. They're unique in that way. And so as great coaches, we're able to identify what those, stumbling blocks are for them and help to ask the right questions so that they can answer them and hear them themselves and realize it's like that light bulb that goes on in your head and goes, oh, that's what I need to do. Yeah?
Yes. I mean, coaching fundamentally is what it's doing is it's turning the lights on inside.
Yeah.
It's helping people see that which they could not see before. And now when you can see new options, new avenues for operating in life, you go, wow, I never saw that I could talk with my boss this way, or that I could make this request, or that I could engage with my community in this way before. Now I have new options and new opportunities.
And I think it is breaking down barriers of fear and other, issues that you have to think that, there is a way to approach a situation instead of just backing off of it and feeling that there's no way to talk to that person. The worst thing that can happen doesn't go good, and if it's already bad, you didn't mess up on anything.
Right.
I just think that so many times if we just believe in ourselves, and more importantly, if we come to it from the heart and from love, because you're trying to solve the issue, not add to it, but make it better, there's always great things that come out of that. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure. And, part of learning in life is by actually falling down. If you think about when you learn to walk, falling down is actually even more important than the walking part. All that feedback you get. And I think as we become adults, we forget that messing up and making mistakes and having things not go well in our lives is full of an incredible amount of wisdom. It's actually a great school to attend and to learn what can I do differently in the future? What wisdom is the situation actually trying to teach me?
Well, and once again, what you're saying is that if we just kind of continue to repeat the same things over and over, insanity tells us that you're going to get those results. I mean, that's something everybody knows, but I think it's almost like they say that and they get it, but they don't get it. And so they do kind of just keep doing it. So, it's craziness, and what coaches really help us to do and mentors help us to do is to take that deep breath, step back, and actually look at it for what it is and what we can actually do different. And sometimes it takes the smallest little step, just a little bit of tweaking. It's not these major things that really make a difference in our life. It's always those little tiny steps that we take that make the difference in it. So I want to go back up to Betsy. And Betsy, I know that you are fully committed, obviously, to the mission. And tell me a little bit about the challenges and the guide that women have and how you actually help them to get through some of those things. And I know that you also are currently acting as the COO, and I'm not quite sure why it says currently acting, like somebody else is going to come in. But for whatever that happens to be, that's a great honor to be, to have that and to help to grow the business on a continuous basis.
Yeah, it's a great observation about the COO title. The six of us who lead Tierra International, so there's 2 of us in Europe, 1 of us in LA, and 3 of us here in the Chicago area, we really are a collective. We really are partners. So we do not do a lot of titles like CEO, COO, that kind of thing. Yet because I do champion that side of the business, sometimes it helps people know that I am the one to go to around the growth strategy, the operation, some of that kind of thing. But it really just epitomizes what we stand for, which is community. So, you asked what are some of the barriers for women in terms of going where they want to go. And a lot of times women these days feel kind of alone, like they feel alone in how they see their world, the problems that they are solving, the challenges that they are facing. And part of the reason why we have always stressed community as part of the Tierra model from the beginning is because we aren't alone. And when you can share that experience, whether it's with an individual coach or mentor, or even a community of women who's going through one of our coaching programs or virtual leadership classes together, you start to feel a little bit more courageous because you can see that your story resonates with other people. What you want makes sense. You have that positive support structure to hold you accountable, but in a good way for doing what you said you would do. When we were designing Tierra years ago, we discovered that there were a couple things that were really important to women that were missing from traditional leadership models. And one of them was community. Like processing and learning and sharing in community is important to most women. The other is that it's integrated. So one of the other barriers that women have is that at this day and age, when we can do just about anything we want, especially in this country, a lot of times we make it feel to ourselves like we should then do it all and do it all perfectly. We don't draw some of those boundaries. We don't give ourselves a break. We try to compartmentalize all of our lives. We try to make it all fit. Where if we really come from an integrated leadership model, which is what we're talking about, we get to look at all of it together. You know, who am I and what do I stand for? What are my personal priorities for a span of time? What are my work priorities for that span of time? What kind of accountability do I need to move forward? What limiting beliefs or fears that really aren't necessarily the truth, but just based on past experiences, do I need to set aside so I can really go for the next chapter in my life? So those are all some of the things that we work with clients all the time, whether it's in a corporate setting, whether it's a personal transition. It's getting that clarity and then providing the tools and the structure and the insight so people have that courage and accountability to move forward.
Well, you know, you already have, which I didn't know until you had started to share, these 6 women that are collaborative together working to make a difference with everybody's lives. And, you know, most women want to collaborate. Unfortunately, I have to say that they, you know, many times they bump into, you know, jealousy or sexuality to get to where they want. I don't even think that they know it. It's just kind of like something that happens. And the truth of the matter, my partner, Janie Rios, who is the greatest IT person out there, we came together through a women's organization and started WBTVN. And the one thing that I think that was lots of things, you know, we were collaborative about each other, but it's really about finding someone that you're not jealous about, but you want to partner with. And it doesn't mean that you may not have even some services that, you know, overlap. It's okay. It's okay. And so I really think that I really want to point that out, because 6 women working together and making this happen, and you're in different, you know, areas and whatever, but you know what your job is, you know what you're responsible for, you know what you're best at. And that's what you're bringing your power to this organization about. So Tierra is grateful, I am sure, to have all of you guys on board to be able to make it all work. So Allison, I want to talk to you a little bit about your background. You talked about the fact that you got into the medical side of this first, and then, so tell me a little bit about the degrees and all of those things that.
Well, thank you. I studied psychology as an undergraduate, and then went and extended that into getting a clinical psychology PhD. And I was particularly fascinated as a graduate student about what did it take for people to make behavioral changes in their life. You know, people would come in and have complaints about their lives. How do people actually execute something different in their life? Mm-hmm. And I really did feel like, as a therapist, I was in, as I always tell people, the right house but the wrong room. It wasn't quite what I wanted to be doing. And because I had been exposed to coaching and thought, well, I'll try that out for a couple years and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do. And now 17 years have passed, and coaching is really very much my passion in supporting people. And it is very helpful to have come from a psychological background and understand some of the dynamics that are going on. And even though coaching is not psychotherapy, we can often see as coaches that people have patterns that started when they were children that carry forward. And they might take the form of what Betsy was saying earlier, of a limiting belief, right? Where For example, oftentimes people feel like they have to take care of everybody else before they take care of themselves, or that they can't ask other people for help. And they've never considered that that's actually a belief, not the truth, but yet it's running their life. And so what I love about coaching is that opportunity to have people start to see that I actually don't need to live inside the prison I created for myself, not from a place of blame, but actually, and also I think the most critical skill I think that we teach people in Tierra as foundational is actually starting to be compassionate and accepting of what is now. How is it now? Can I allow it to be as it is and stop judging myself? Only when we stop judging ourselves can we begin to actually change our behavior and create new outcomes in our lives.
Right, and become the person that you really know that you are inside, but you're kind of like opening that door to, to come out. It's a coming out party. That's exactly what it is. And we all want to do that. So Betsy, tell me a little bit, because I know you've worked with a lot of corporations. You've written, Allison's written a book. I'm going to come back to that. But you've worked with the corporations on different levels and experienced that, which is great because you bring, that element into it, because so many people that you coach are working in big corporations or entrepreneurs. They're all different on what that approach is going to be and where they're coming from.
Yes, my background is slightly different than Allison's. I come from organization development. And even before that, in undergrad, I studied philosophy only because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have a good idea of this is what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I took classes that I liked, and they all centered around this question of what's the purpose? What's the point? How do we make the most out of our time here? And then that circled into work with student affairs, where I did programming as well as other things that everyone does when they work in colleges and universities. And at that point, I really was passionate about how do I do more of what I like and less of what I don't, which is something we still encourage our clients professionally and personally to do. Go in the direction of what you like and stop doing the things that, even if you feel somewhat obligated, no longer serve you.
Right.
And with that, I ended up in corporate training and development. I got my master's degree in organization development from Loyola University here in Chicago. And that's when I really started doing some of the corporate work in change management and organization development, as well as executive and leadership coaching. So I have worked across industries, automotive, parking, professional services, companies like PepsiCo. Allison and I did some workshops there together, actually, and Hewitt as a professional services firm, and a utility out in the western suburbs for a few years. And I've also worked with schools and not-for-profits and entrepreneurs starting their businesses. So the Tierra model for true leadership really can be mapped onto wherever someone is in their leadership journey. I think that's how you started, saying we're all on a journey. It looks different for each of us. And that's one of the things that we like about our approach is it's a cyclical approach. It includes the awareness someone needs to be able to lead powerfully, accomplishment, so you can really do what you're set here to do, and then influence so that you don't resist being a woman of power, but you can actually gracefully step into, how do I stand for something that has an influence? How do I create a ripple effect with who I am and what I do, whether it's in a corporate and professional setting, in a community leadership role, or in my own family, in a way that makes me really feel like I am on point with what my purpose is, and I'm leading my life in a way that I can be proud of what I'm accomplishing.
Well, since I took ballet for a long time, believe me, I know what on point is.
Well, that's one of the things I was impressed with by you in terms of what you created as a health and well-being. I mean, integration is what you did. You integrated all those forms of movement. You integrated leadership principles, and the dance component makes it very unique. That's something that was not done at all. So I was very impressed and could see right away that what you stand for are some of the same things that we stand for.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I was so excited about having you on and sharing the story. So Allison, tell me a little bit. You're an author, and you wrote a book. Tell me a little bit about that. And
Oh, yes. Well, I have, over the last 17 years, one of the things that I've done in my coaching is developed an expertise in helping graduate students finish doctoral dissertations to get their PhD. That's a place where a lot of people get stuck. And I had the good fortune of having the opportunity to write a book called Finish Your Dissertation Once and for All. And I have had people in my life who are not graduate students read it. And it is similar to some of the things that we do in Tierra, which is, how do I direct myself in my life? How do I actually take the actions that I'm committed to, that matter to me? How do I know what I value and align my behavior with it in the service of producing results, reaching goals, being powerful and being influential? And so it was a wonderful thing to be able to write the book. And honestly, it's a great personal challenge to anybody out there. To write a book, you actually have to deal with yourself and what gets in your way.
yeah,
I really do believe that oftentimes it's great for people to take on, it doesn't have to be writing a book, but to take on a big challenge that's outside their comfort zone. Because what it will do is it will illuminate whatever in a way is wanting to be sort of worked on, healed, addressed, that's in between you and reaching your goal.
and I just have to say that one of my passion in life is that if it's not addressed, it can't be resolved. It's just that simple. And so if we do keep, putting it away, putting it under the mat and whatever, it is always going to raise its ugly head. So I'm that girl who says, let's just get it out on the table and let's deal with it, But not everyone's like that. They're worried about what are the consequences. And there isn't consequences. And I could tell you story after story, and we don't have time for that. And I know that you guys could share some great stories, which we want you to do. We're going to get you on and have you do that. But it's really about addressing things, with the heart, all the right reasons, and just putting down those heavy bricks that you carry, because it's just pulling you down and you're worried. Worriedness is just, makes you depressed. And so until you really come to the conclusion that I just don't want to carry this around any longer. And we need to set that down by just addressing it. And I know that it sounds easier than what it is, but it's not as difficult as you think it is either, right?
Well, and many people don't know they're carrying something with them. They don't realize. It looks like it's the outside circumstances. It's my boss, it's my colleagues, it's my spouse, it's my kids, it's my community. That's the problem. And they can't see that actually the way that they see all of those people and their circumstances is having a profound impact on their experience of life.
I totally agree with that. But I also have to say that I feel that they get to the point where it's easier to just mentally almost feel like this didn't really happen. It's just my imagination. And so, and they know it's not. I mean, this is just surface stuff that I'm talking about. And it's not. And at some point in time in their lives, I pray that they address it, because who wants to leave this world with those kinds of regrets? I mean, life is just too short, So anyway, I do want to talk also about all of the different programs, consulting and professional and personal coaching that Tierra does. And so corporate consulting, and professional coaching, leadership coaching, solutions for busy, committed women who are business owners, managers, partners in professional services firms, and more. And that's just, you're really covering a lot of bases there. So it's not just, one or two, it's extremely, broad. And personal life coaching helps women, navigate their life changes. And that's really a key, giving them the tools to be able to navigate, to get to where they need to be, giving them the tools to be able to do that is like, wow, I can go play, golf because I have the tools. I have everything in this bag that I need to get that down. But we don't realize that in life, there are tools. They may not be tools that you can see, but there's tools that you do have, and that's what coaching and helping somebody to get to really makes a difference in their life, to be able to navigate that and not to feel like, I can't pull this out. You can pull it out of your pocket, and it does come out of a bag sometimes, so it's all good. So I want people to know where they can reach you.
Yes. So you can reach us at trcoaching.com, and on that website, there's a little bit of information about all of those services that you mentioned. Our core mission, the way we word it, is that we believe in a world where all women choose to lead their lives from inspiration. So that's the umbrella, and that's why we have such a broad range. We will help a corporation launch a mentorship program that actually changes the talent pipeline so more women have access to leadership opportunities they're qualified for. At the same time, we have the Tiara Resource Circle, which is our virtual program where every month you can call in from anywhere and you get one of the tools you just mentioned. For example, our next tool that we're going to be talking about the first Tuesday of March is around clarity. How can you be really clear about what you want? How do you remove some of that fuzziness and have the courage to say, this is the direction I'm going in an area of life that's important to me, and do it in a multidimensional way. So it's, how does that goal feel? What does it look like? So there's a tool that we use for that. So that's where you can go, trcoaching.com. It gives you an idea of all these different areas, and you can really find what is best for you then. You can also find myself and Allison on that website and just contact us directly with any questions that you might have.
Oh, I love that. And I love clarity because I wrote about it and authored, a book called The Breakthrough. And people have breakthroughs all the time in their life. And it's really a beginning. It's about getting the education, understanding the facts behind something. And clarity will come because you're listening. You're paying attention. And so those are the important elements. I love all of that. Just really quick, because we're running out of time, but you have 5 life management techniques to boost your overall energy, and we all want to have that energy. So just really quick, Betsy, tell me, what's the first one?
The first one is about your relationships. I think it's worded to get rid of the troublesome or irritating relationships in your life. Basically, be intentional about the people that are in your life, how much time you spend with them, why you're spending time with them. Start to remove yourself from book clubs or committee meetings or boards that no longer fill you with energy, so that you're in charge of the kind of relationships that you have and that they feed you, that they don't drain you.
Absolutely. Get rid of the bad relationships. I love that. So Allison, what's the second one?
The second one is to actually manage your commitments, not time. Because time is indifferent to your management efforts. It ticks on, 24 hours a day, regardless of your management efforts. What takes up our time? Our commitments, our promises, the agreements, the things that we say that we're going to do in the world. And if we can shift our focus to managing what comes out of our mouth, and what we agree to do, what we say yes to, and what we say no to, and realize, if I actually step back and connect with myself and think about, okay, what am I actually agreeing to? My time is valuable. Do I want to agree to that? And I become the manager of my commitments. Then time actually takes care of itself. I'm in charge of my time because I'm in charge of my commitments and my promises and my agreements.
Well, I agree. So what we're saying is manage commitments and not time. And then the third one is, Betsy?
Say no. We do have to say no.
No.
It's an illusion to think that saying yes to everything is what anybody wants. Not only do we overwhelm ourselves, but we end up double booking ourselves. We cancel plans later. We can't handle it all. It's confusing. So say yes to what you really intend to do. Do say no so that you can create some of those boundaries and time for yourself. And there's also a little middle trick that you can use, which is called renegotiation. Yeah. So if you feel like a no is too harsh, you always can ask more questions so that you can get clearer on what somebody wants and propose something that feels like it would more work for you. Okay. So ask about what really does it mean to serve on that board? Well, I can't actually be a committee leader, but I could show up on the board meetings once a quarter. Yes, I can raise money, but no, I'm not going to pay dues myself. Like whatever the things might be, say yes and or renegotiate in a way so that it feels like it works for you. And we all need to say no more. So bottom line, the tip is say
well, we
no.
take it on, we go, and then we walk away and say, what was I thinking? You know,
Right. Right.
How am I going to do that now? So
right. So if anything else, pause before you say yes.
Yes.
Say no. I just have to tell you something so funny. I have a little 3-year-old grandson, and he was having his birthday party, and they had a cake out there, and he just kept going over and putting that chocolate in his mouth and whatever. And I walked over and I said, you know, one more bite. And he looks at me like this, and he goes like this, and he ate it. And then he puts his finger in the cake. I go, no. I said, let's go in the house. So we went in the house. He turns around to me. He says, Nana, no, tell me no.
It starts early.
It starts early. So say no. Okay, so number 4.
Is to learn something new. One of the ways that we can really energize and stimulate ourselves is to actually take on learning a new skill, a new hobby, learning about history, whatever, something that you are excited about. Take yourself in a new direction, which also can be very, very helpful to us to help us manage the challenges of life, because we've got something that's maybe a little more meditative for us, or that's less stressful for us. It gives us pleasure, or we're actually energizing ourselves by engaging in some new realm in life. And it's also important because it helps us step out of the busy trap of, oh, I don't have time for that. And we start to live in a very small circle of what we have to do. And when we decide we're going to learn to knit, or we're going to learn to ski, or whatever it is, that takes us out of our comfort zone and starts to expand our horizon of who we can be in the world. And I actually think learning new things expands who we are as leaders.
And it brings joy into our life, because we're actually doing something because it's something we picked to do and chose that. So learn something new. And then the number 5 is what, Betsy?
It's to tune into your inspiration. We do believe that each person has a unique sense of what inspires them, what motivates them, what moves them, something that is related to what they're excited about, or at least what they are really touched by in terms of the world around them. And we have more choice than we think. You can actually turn off the news or step away from the Twitter feed or the social media, and you can turn your attention toward, well, what inspires me? What's a story of courage or of inspiration? What's, an event that I could go see? What's a movie that I could watch? What's a book I could read that really reconnects me with what I'm excited about, that I find meaningful? And we can be very unapologetic about it. Like, what is it? What's the secret sauce that's just uniquely you, that when you are tuned into it, you have that energy that you need to keep going, and you have that drive and that sense of purpose that otherwise would be missing. Ultimately, that comes from within you.
It does, definitely. So number 5 is connect with what inspires you. And I know that sometimes people say, well, I'm not quite sure what it is, but if you sit and talk to them, I've always wanted to take a language, and I've never found the time to do that. And now they have online opportunities to be able to do that isn't going to eat up your time. You can, put some time into it, put it on pause, go back to it, pick it up where you left off. There is the opportunity. Just don't tell yourself you can't do it. That's the whole key. Commit to doing something that's a little bit different, that's going to bring joy into your life. And so that's why family and friends are so important in our lives. And I feel like I've made 2 new friends today. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart, you guys, to come out and share all of your wisdom and mental intelligence about helping other people that need your help. And so I hope that you'll come back again. I want to thank our audience for joining us today on WBTVN's Expert Spotlight show. And if you're interested in having an interview, then go on to WBTVN.tv. There's a form there that you can fill out, and we will get back to you. Thank you so much, Betsy and Allison, and thank you for being on the show. Until the next time, have a good day. Bye-bye now.